This is getting crazy, guys. What in the world is even happening today? The Nasdaq is down about 2%. S&P is down 1.6% at the time of recording this video. We had some economic data come out this morning that is just mind-boggling. It really makes you wonder what in the world is going on out there. So that's what's causing the markets to fall. We're going to get into it here in this video, break down all of the breaking news on Tesla stock, everything you need to know as a Tesla stock investor. If you like to stay informed and make money, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This is your place to be. So let me start this video off with Tesla. Tesla is down about 1.54% today. A very strong day relative to a 2% down day on the Nasdaq. You are above your 8-day moving average. You are above your 100-day moving average. You are right between your 8-day and your 50-day moving average. So seeing a little bit of resistance here around that 50-day moving average, but it's because the markets are in the poop chute. I strongly believe Tesla stock will continue to break out, especially once we get that Cybertruck delivery event. That is going to be something you do not want to be downside positioned heading into. You want all the upside exposure you can possibly get your hands on right here and right now with Tesla stock. I'm not a financial advisor, but that is what I am doing. Now, before we get into all of the breaking news on the day today with Tesla stock, and boy, is there a lot of it, we have to get into what is causing this down move here in the markets that is kind of turning a crash into a crisis. The JOLTS job openings came out this morning at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time at 9.61 million. You were expecting 8.8 million. That is 800,000 more job openings than we previously expected. This is really creating that higher for longer narrative. Higher for longer typically would not be a bad thing because that's usually a good sign that the economy is doing well. But higher for longer when rates are 5.5% means you're more likely to get the Fed to break something, and you're more likely to end up in a recession, even if it does not happen over the next couple of months. What does the next year or two look like? The higher rates go, the worse off everyone is. But the banks, that's really something that could become a problem again. 10-year Treasury yields are up 11.5 basis points today. 2-year Treasuries are up about 3 basis points today. So you are actually seeing a continued uninversion of the yield curve because the 10-year yields continue to rise. Now, typically what causes the yield curve to uninvert, this is something we have looked at very closely recently, because once you start to uninvert, typically you're just about to head into a recession. Normally, if you're about to go into a recession, the 2-year yields will fall as the 10-year yields stay a little bit higher because people start to imply more rate cuts in the near-term future. Right now, it's a little bit strange what is causing this uninversion. It's the 10-year rising, and maybe even rising more than the 2-year if we give it a couple more days. This is turning a crash into a potential crisis. If you look at TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, this thing is down, hitting a new low today. That means your unrealized losses with banks have never been worse than where they are now. So the banking crisis was one thing, but now those losses are even worse. If you take a look at KRE, the regional bank ETF, well, it's hitting some of its lowest points you have seen since the banking crisis really started. If you start to get bigger moves down from here, you could very well be in a new banking crisis. To make matters even worse, oil is up 0.36% today, and the dollar is up another 0.74%. This was 2022. I would argue the dollar had one of the biggest effects on the markets throughout 2022, as it really does hurt your multinationals, Tesla and Apple, companies that do business in foreign currencies but report earnings in US dollars. Recently, you have seen the dollar starting to even move higher. Back here during the peak was September, October, November of 2022, and those months were not exactly great months for our market. So if the dollar continues higher, well, we could maybe be foreshadowing a similar event to what we seen last October. People always say, well, isn't October a seasonally bullish month? Doesn't that set a lot of the lows for down periods? And then you have a strong second half of October, November, December. Sometimes. 1929, this started the Great Depression. Well, that happened in October. 1987 Black Monday, that happened in October. 2008, that happened in October. 2022, that happened in October. You get the idea. Sometimes October is not a great month. Sometimes October is just an extension of September. And if we continue to get data that is standard deviations away from estimates, like the JOLTS job openings was today, then you will continue to see potentially an even larger decline in equity markets. But relatively speaking, Tesla is doing fantastic. Tesla reported a quote-unquote miss to deliveries. I'm going to do these air quotes here because I expected 434,000 deliveries. Tesla came in at 435,000 deliveries, so they actually exceeded my estimate by about 1,000, but they were about 20,000 lower than Wall Street's estimates. Tesla's stock down 1.84% right now. Rivian actually beat their estimates by 1,000 plus vehicles, and Rivian stock is down over 6.5% today. BYD is down 1.4% today. China's largest EV maker reported September numbers. It produced more battery electric vehicles in the third quarter than Tesla. It's the first quarter ever in which that has happened. But investors shrugged at all of that. Tesla stock finished up 0.5% yesterday. The starting point mattered. Tesla stock is down about 10% over the past 3 months, underperforming the S&P 500, which is roughly flat over the same span. And then Canaccord analyst George Giannis said, quote, eyes on the prize in a Monday report. He is looking past the weak number, believing demand is relatively healthy for Tesla despite a wobbly auto market and some price cuts this quarter. Giannis explains demand for the coming Cybertruck and updated Model 3 sedan will boost sales. He rates Tesla shares a buy and has a $293 price target for the stock. Wedbush analyst Dan Ives rates shares a buy and has a $350 price target for the stock. Quote, nothing to write home about. A better day ahead, wrote Ives Monday. Even when factoring in shutdowns with no rose-colored glasses, Tesla clearly missed street estimates this quarter, with bulls left disappointed, although we see better days ahead for Q4 in 2024. Pierre Fergu wrote, quote, encouraging signs on demand in a Monday report. Tesla maintained its full-year sales guidance for 1.8 million units, implying at least 475,000 units sold in the fourth quarter. Quote, reduced inventory and maintained full-year guidance along with very limited price cuts imply underlying demand, while probably still brittle, is stabilizing. He rates shares a buy and has a $350 price target. Bard analyst Ben Callow rates shares a buy. His price target is $300 a share. Callow says, focusing on the company's maintained full-year guidance, quote, the primary bear thesis during Q3 has been around building inventory and faltering demand in the weakening macro environment, wrote Callow Monday. Quote, we view the deliveries exceeding production as alleviating some concerns regarding inventory. We continue to believe Tesla is best positioned among automakers to weather the economic headwinds of higher interest rates and a weakening consumer. RBC analyst Tom Narian wasn't as willing to write off a weaker than expected third quarter. Quote, short delivery times imply that deliveries match underlying demand. Tesla cut prices on the S and X with 1 month to go in the quarter, yet deliveries for those models were particularly weak, he wrote Monday. JP Morgan has raised its Tesla price target to $135 from $120 while maintaining an underweight rating. Quote, we primarily contribute the continued collapse in Tesla's consensus delivery volume, revenue, earnings, and cash flow to a extrapolation of earlier trends with a pinch of irrational exuberance thrown in, Brinkman wrote. He says, quote, bullish investors will say that there remains no demand problem, that sales were limited in Q3 by lower supply as the company took manufacturing downtime for factory upgrades. He still thinks deliveries should have been better, aided by the existing inventory Tesla had on the ground. Attributing the softness to higher interest rates or lower consumer confidence also does not sufficiently explain the issue, in our view, as in industry-wide sales and production have tracked better than expected. For now, it appears Brinkman is in the minority on Wall Street. But yet again, he still raised his price target from $120 to $135. Tesla's Model 3 Highland has officially launched in Thailand. The Model 3 Highland in Thailand has the same specs as the units released in Europe. The rear-wheel drive variant has 513 kilometers of range based on the WLTP standard and a maximum speed of 201 kilometers an hour. The dual motor long range variant has 629 kilometers of range. In some truly breaking news, Tesla has introduced the Model Y rear-wheel drive in the US for $43,990, which is $3,750 less expensive than the base Model Y all-wheel drive was previously discontinued. With the $7,500 federal EV credit, it cost $36,490. It gets 260 miles of range, top speed of 135 miles per hour with a 0 to 60 in 6.6 seconds. Tesla North America has shared a new video. As you can see, if an airbag is deployed, hazard lights will automatically activate and flash faster to improve visibility. Update now rolling out to all US Model 3s and Ys as well as S and X 2020 and newer. Denmark reported 2,425 Tesla sales for September. Tesla is the best-selling brand. The Model Y is the best-selling car. 99% of these sales are the Model Y, the third best month ever with 74% growth versus last month, and the third best month of the quarter ever, 14% down from last month, best September ever. Year to date, 596% over the same period last year, and year to date is 501% of last year's total. So some very impressive growth in Denmark, but basically every other country out there. Joe Tetmeyer over here on Twitter shares this photo. He says, I know this isn't my typical high-resolution image, but I captured something I thought might be interesting. This appears to be several structural battery packs being delivered on the SW receiving door where CTs are assembled. Can anyone identify if this appears different from a Model Y pack? And the consensus view is it looks similar, but a little bit different. Maybe it's a Cybertruck battery pack. It's really hard to tell based on kind of the structure here. And yes, these are pallets put together. The battery pack is in the middle there, as you can see, kind of in gray. So who knows? If you guys have any further clarity, that would be cool to see, or get your opinions down below in the comment section. It could be a Cybertruck battery pack, though. Talk about poaching talent. Tesla and Rivian vet heads to Volkswagen to help with software. Volkswagen AG has hired a former Tesla engineer director to help the company catch up in the electric vehicle software race. The new Volkswagen executive also worked at Rivian and Google's Android automotive division in the past. As per Volkswagen, Sanjay Lal will join Volkswagen Cariad unit next month as head of Software Design Hub. He will be tasked with the development of new software platforms that will be used in Volkswagen's future electric vehicles. Ford has introduced the 2024 Ford Lightning Flash with a $70,000 starting price, 320 miles of range, a heat pump, a 15.5-inch center screen, and sits between the XLT and Variant models. Dan Ives reposted this from Sven Henrich. that says soaring yields, particularly driven by insatiable debt issuance by the U.S. Treasury, are tightening conditions so fast that before you know it, the Fed may either be forced to pause QT or outright start to become a buyer of U.S. debt again. And as you can see, this is the securities held outright, the U.S. Treasury securities on Wednesday. Gary Black shared this post from Tesla Chan that says this is positive since good for volume, not a price cut since many Model Y buyers won't want a rear-wheel drive or 0 to 60 in 6.6 seconds, value for money trim, and this is on the new rear-wheel drive Model Y. He's basically saying, hey, a lot of people are not going to want this, so they're going to opt for the more expensive versions. So he thinks this was actually a good move by Tesla. GM and Ford are furloughing another 500 workers due to the UAW strike. This is having a drastic effect on local economies. My economy here in Michigan, you can see everything slowing down. There's not as many people at your Walmart, at your dollar store, at your restaurants. Not great. This is interesting. So Tesla increases the price of the classic Roadster 3.0 battery upgrade. This is the first time Tesla has increased the price of the 3.0 battery pack since it was initially launched in 2015. The classic Roadster was built in early 2012, equipped with a 53 kilowatt-hour battery pack that provided up to 266 miles of range on a full charge. 2 years later, in 2014, CEO Elon Musk announced during the company's annual shareholder meeting that a fairly exciting upgrade would be coming for all Roadster owners, which turned out to be a larger battery pack. This was $29,000. It looks like they increased this price to about $40,000. This is an increase of 38%. Now, just a fun fact for the original Tesla Roadster owners, if you guys are watching this video, it's essentially like 6,000 laptop batteries put together. At least the original battery pack was. So pretty cool. And a lot of people at the time did not think like Tesla would be able to do that. But yeah, they just took like 6,000 laptop batteries and essentially put them together and boom, you have the Roadster. And look at that. Even though Tesla stock is down about 2%, matching what the NASDAQ is doing right now, you have seen about 600 option orders totaling $190 million with a positive order value of 66%. So even though you're having a red day today, a lot of people are excited on Tesla for 2024. And I do strongly think this has a lot to do with the Cybertruck. You really don't want to be negatively positioned in Tesla once the Cybertruck does actually start deliveries. Odds are the Cybertruck could become the most popular truck in the US pretty quickly. I mean, you will be production constrained for a little while until they really do ramp it, but it's going to be a rolling advertisement for Tesla, and it's going to make Tesla's numbers balloon in 2024 and 2025 especially. If we look at the bubble chart expiring this week, you can see the 260 call is having a lot of activity with 54,000 for volume, open interest at 30,000. The puts though are definitely winning out here today. The 240 put has volume of 72,000. The 245 put has volume of 80,000, whereas the 255 call has volume of about 50,000. The difference is you're seeing a lot of puts trading hands. A lot of people are going out there, they're buying puts, but the dollar amount, well, that's going to the call side. And a lot of these calls are being placed for 2024, for January, as well as later on down the line. A lot of people want some long duration upside exposure to Tesla stock right now. If you take a look at Tesla on the charts, again, Tesla is above your 8-day moving average. It's really in between support at the 100-day moving average at $243.94 and at resistance here at 250.61 at the 50-day moving average. You're in this like $6 range, just tight right here. The 8-day moving average sitting right in the middle at 246.44. Tesla stock currently is at $246.80. So you're like 40 cents higher than your 8-day moving average. You're what? $3 higher than your 100-day moving average, and you are $4 away from your 50-day moving average. So $4 just either way is really important. So you want to be watching Tesla right here. If you break above the 50-day moving average, well, we've seen a lot of resistance here as of recently. You could soar if you get above your 50-day moving average. Unfortunately, a lot of this could have to do with the broader markets, and whatever happens in the broader markets typically affects Tesla, and the broader markets don't look good. The NASDAQ is starting to come down, not quite hitting a new low that we have seen recently. We set the new low back here on September 27th, but if you break under this line that I have drawn out connecting the recent lows, that's where you get into bigger downside that could send the NASDAQ down to 330 on the lower end level. Now, we're going to be going over a potential crisis in the making at 9 p.m. tonight. Let me know down below in the comment section if you guys are waiting for that video. There's some really bad things happening out there. The markets are being constrained right now between the banking crisis and the banks being liquidity constrained, but also just investors in general. These bond yield increases are happening at such an aggressive pace, we might need to see a U-turn from the Fed. So we're going to be going over that and much more at the video at 9 p.m. tonight. Let me know down below in the comment section if you guys are going to be watching that video. I think it's one you definitely don't want to miss. Now, on the S&P 500, you have broke under your important line that was basically connecting the lows and, well, the low from back here in October of 2022 to the lows that you have seen since. And what happened? The SPY fell under that today. Now, the last couple of minutes here can be pretty volatile, but you would have to get back up to about 424 roughly to actually get above that line, so that does not look likely here today. A close under this line could mean at least the 200-day moving average is the next level to be watching at 416.39. So it does not look great, but the RSI is technically now in oversold territory. So getting an oversold bounce can happen. I think this really depends on the data and what happens to the dollar, what happens to treasuries, what happens to the regional bank index, as well as oil. So that is just about going to do it for this video. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you guys like this one, if you learned something, or you just want to stay up to date with everything happening out there in our markets every single day. This is your go-to channel for everything Tesla, everything broader markets, to hopefully help you make more money, at the very least make a wiser financial decision. That's it for this video. If you guys would like to come join the trading community, link down below in the description of this video. We have something a member provided us as well, a chart that we're going to be looking at the 9 o'clock video. You guys don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss the action over there. Come join if you guys have not already. Come check it out. Come join for a month. If it's not your cup of tea, if it's not your place to be, then feel free to always cancel and then go somewhere that is. But I feel like that's a great service that a lot of you guys could benefit from. Again, I send out my trades in real time. Every time I make a trade, a YOLO, a short, a long, options, futures, cryptos, whatever makes sense at the time is what we're doing. Right now, it makes sense to hedge those portfolios. So that's exactly what we're doing, as well as buying some long-term positions. So that's it, guys. My name is Michael Tyler. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.